What is up, everybody? This is Alex from IHE TV, and today I'm talking about the new Darren Aronofsky movie, Caught Stealing. This was a bit of a surprise for me, because I thought the advertising was straight up terrible. Every time I had to sit through the ad before other movies I was seeing the previous few months, I just thought, what is he going for with this movie? It looked more like it was trying to be a Guy Ritchie movie, and it kind of is in a way, but more Guy Ritchie when he was making interesting things. If I didn't know it was Aronofsky going in, I don't think I'd even guess it was. This is quite comparatively light-hearted compared to the rest of his filmography. That's not to say it doesn't have its fair share of darkness in there. In fact, the tone is one of the more interesting and flawed parts of the movie. It's kind of the best and worst thing about it. Definitely the dude's funniest film. Not that he's ever really made a comedy before. Picture the crime angle of a Guy Ritchie movie with the double, triple crossing nature of something like The Big Lebowski, along with that comedy as well from The Big Lebowski. Even a sprinkling of something like Uncut Gems, or even a little dash of Edgar Wright here and there. I always like to see a director try something different, and this continues his streak of pretty excellent movies. I think he's only really missed once with Noah. Quite an unusual film. This has a lot of plot elements, a lot of structural things that are extremely appealing to me. I really enjoy these comedy of errors, wrong place, wrong time, Coen Brothers style crime mishap movies, and with a main character who's struggling with addiction, conquering his traumatic past. These are all elements and ideas that I love seeing explored in film. And I gotta say, I think I'm kind of won over to Austin Butler now. I wasn't really sure how I felt about him. I did skip Elvis because I just don't like Baz's movies, and I just found the way he was talking about it to be so obnoxious. But I mean, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Dune Part 2, he was great in. Eddington recently, he was excellent in. He definitely had the stuff to carry this film. The character goes through a lot, so he has a lot of moments to show his range as an actor. He did have fiery chemistry with Zoe Kravitz, but he wasn't even my favorite character. That would definitely have to go to Matt Smith, who isn't even in the movie that much. But he is a gem. He has so much charisma, elevates every scene he's in. Having this 90s punk running around is genuinely funny. And for a film where the main character's interests and motivations are linked to something I care about so little, that being baseball, to work so well for me, I think says a lot. Aronofsky just finds ways to give the film a nice visual and thematic through line, where the way things reincorporate into themselves, the payoffs you get the longer it goes on, the intention to everything seems so clear. Very rewarding if you're paying attention. The physicality Austin Butler brings to the role with the baseball stuff. There are chase scenes where he's using his baseball knowledge to his advantage, whether, as you can see here, him using the bat as a weapon, sliding under forklifts, or even when there are injuries in the film, on close-ups of the stitches, even resembles the stitching on a baseball. It has such high energy, and the plot itself is completely unpredictable. Yeah, that's random. Bad Bunny was in the movie in quite a funny role. Yeah, and speaking of the Coens, with a cat being a big part of the plot, inside Llewellyn Davies. This was a good movie cat. I didn't even recognize Vincent D'Onofrio. I'm usually pretty good with faces, but he disappeared into this character. And these two are some of the best jokes in the movie. And speaking again of The Big Lebowski, the way Sabbath is intertwined in the plot is hilarious and extremely satisfying. I thought it was really efficient with the mise-en-scene, the way that sets were used to inform a lot about the characters. If you're paying attention to items in the background of a scene, how they light their room, what they stack their shelves with, for how quickly it moves, it informs the characters a lot, made them feel different, distinct, and unique, despite there being quite a lot of characters in a fairly short film, that quickly establishes that no one is really safe or sacred, which keeps the tension quite high. Gotta shout out that score by Idols. Only got into them, I think it was last year. I heard one of their songs in a bar in Bristol where they're from, and I really want to see them live now. Complements the film really nicely. I love that joke with Matt Smith where he takes out the roof of his car so his hair can poke through the top. So I'd give this a recommendation before we go into spoilers if you don't want to hear any more. It's not Aronofsky's best, that's for sure, but certainly extremely enjoyable, unpredictable. Definitely in my top 10 of the year so far, even if some moments and the way it wraps up doesn't really fully work for me, but I'd happily watch this again. I probably will watch this again. And I'm going to talk some spoilers now, discuss in detail a bit more what did and didn't work for me. So you've been warned. So I never know how far to take this criticism I'm about to whip out as far as the capability of someone who is committing themselves to these intense action scenes while having pretty significant injuries. In this case, Austin Butler has his kidney removed after getting the shit kicked out of him by the Russian mobsters, and within 2 days he's sprinting around and partaking in these intense action scenes that I don't know if I'd buy someone would be able to do. And it's not like the tone is that fantastical and unserious that would be an unfair thing to think about, especially with the consequence to a lot of the other action in the movie, especially with what happens to Matt Smith and that head injury and the way that goes. And on the Matt Smith character, I really enjoyed how, going back to that comedy of errors thing, how his dad genuinely did die, and that's why the violence starts erupting to begin with. Like, he's not even trying to intentionally cause drama. So I love that irony to the story. And this isn't written by Aronofsky, this is based on a book, so a lot of these details are obviously from there. But as far as that tone, balancing the viciousness that it kind of whips out with that absurd comedy, with the silly roommate, with your Matt Smiths, these funny scenes of people getting drunk. There were some moments where the jokes didn't fully land for me, and when it would do something to bring the tone down to a level that you can't really come back from, like murdering Zoe Kravitz extremely quickly, and even having cat violence, or implied cat violence. You don't see it, but you see the ramifications of it. So I might need to see it again to see how that clash flows on a rewatch. But that was also one of the things I did like about the movie, was how it was weaving in and out. It gave characters like these two an interesting complexity where they would show sympathy but also complete sociopathy at the same time. I think my favorite joke in the movie is probably the joke about not being able to drive, and one of them saying the half that's not Jewish will do the driving. Hilarious joke. Love the way it fed into Austin Butler's trauma of his car crash. There's continually flashback to as the film goes along and feeds into his major arc, kind of learning to overcome and come to terms with what he's done in his past. I like the core of that, but I think it did kind of wrap up a little bit clean, and that's more where the tonal issues come to a head for me, where the character kind of gets what's presented as a fairly happy ending for him. It's like Zoe Kravitz got brutally murdered, which is a good moment of escalation in the story. But as far as like feeding into that conclusion and that arc, I don't know if it should be framed as quite so triumphant. Like, it's not specifically this character's fault. He's kind of thrown into this maelstrom, and all this pain and chaos happens mostly for reasons out of his control. But for how much death and destruction has to happen for him to reach this conclusion is riding a fine line for me. It's like just teetering on being too far. I guess Bad Bunny has a new side gig of showing up in movies and just being killed really quickly. So many good presentation choices. That scene where he gets wasted after the kidney operation, where he kind of relapses on alcohol when he's not supposed to. The way the passage of time is communicated with the use of camera movements is very clever. And this ongoing through line of him calling his mum every day and not once showing his mother until the end credits was a fun creative choice. That shot's ringing in my mind of him kneeling his head against the wall and the camera's kind of underneath looking up at him. Constantly varied and exciting. Shout out to that scary Russian dude who brings a level of physicality that really sold the violence. He's head-butting Austin Butler like a goat, and the payoff of him kind of knocking him out instantly is pretty funny. Had some of the better end credits I've seen in a while. Fun little 2D animation. Laura Dern jump scare. I mean, Aronofsky knows how to put together a movie. What is this Neil Breen-ass looking poster? What's this doing online? What is that? What? So this was a really fun, solid period piece. How old does that have to be a period piece? Yeah, I guess just throwing me off because I guess that's what getting old is. Because I was born in the 90s, so I guess I'm a living period piece at this point. So yeah, I'd check this out, even if you thought the ads looked bad. It's a solid 7 for me. Continually proving he's an excellent filmmaker. And a big thing for me is, once I finish a film, I'll run through the idea of, could I watch that again? Would I want to watch that again? And I have a sneaking suspicion that this actually might work better on a rewatch. Because with this double, triple crossing stuff, these random characters coming in and out, now that I know what to expect, it might even flow better. So check this out if you can. I'm not sure if it's doing particularly well, and it's fairly modest. I think it's about $40 million it was made for. But again, that advertising was bad. But see it while you can. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.